My name's Jacob. People call me Jake, but Madison always preferred Jacob. Said it sounded more grounded, more solid. I liked that she had preferences like that, little things that made me feel seen. We'd been together for 8 years, married for 6. We lived in Tucson, Arizona in a modest 2-bedroom house with a stucco exterior and a backyard that I always said I'd get around to fixing up. I worked as a data analyst for an IT firm, nothing flashy, just stable. Madison was in client solutions for a national retail chain. Her job always sounded more impressive when she described it, filled with phrases like client-facing and partnership management. People thought we were the ideal couple. And maybe for a while we were. We had routines. We had our inside jokes. We had date nights, even if they became more takeout on the couch than anything else. Life wasn't thrilling, but it was safe. I thought safe meant strong. Turns out it can also mean numb. I remember the exact day things started to feel off. It wasn't the first sign of trouble, not in hindsight, but it was the first time I felt something shift in my gut. Madison had asked me to come to a team event at her office, an internal celebration for closing a major deal or something like that. Usually, she kept work and home pretty separate. She'd mention coworkers in passing, mostly in a you won't care about this kind of way. But this time, she looked right at me and said, "I'd really like you to be there. Please come. It would mean a lot." That line stuck with me, it would mean a lot. I said yes, of course. Took a half day from work. Put on a button-down shirt, the one she always said brought out the green in my eyes. I even stopped at a bakery to grab a box of pastries for her team. I figured it'd be a good way to show support, maybe get a glimpse into her world. I wanted to feel closer to her again. I missed her even though we still saw each other every day. When I walked into the office lounge where the event was being held, I immediately felt like I didn't belong. Everyone knew each other. Inside jokes were flying around the room. I was just the husband. Madison greeted me with a quick smile, then drifted off to talk to a group gathered near the window. I followed her with my eyes and saw him for the first time. Ryan. He looked like the kind of guy who wore cologne to the gym. Early 30s, fit with that cocky kind of charm that some people mistake for confidence. He was talking animatedly, gesturing with his hands, and Madison, my Madison, was standing close to him. Too close. They laughed at something and she reached out and touched his arm. Just a tap. Just a second. But I noticed. It wasn't the touch itself, it was the familiarity in it. The comfort. The kind of touch you don't give to a colleague unless there's something more under the surface. I tried to shake it off. Maybe I was being sensitive. Jealous. But that thought barely had time to settle when someone said, "Hey, did you see the karaoke video from Vegas?" A woman with short curls and a voice like sandpaper pulled out her phone and held it up for the group. A few people gathered around. Madison didn't stop her. In fact, she leaned in, smiling. I was curious. Vegas? I didn't know she'd gone to Vegas. She'd mentioned a partner retreat, but I'd assumed it was in Phoenix. I stepped closer to see the screen. And there it was. The video showed a grainy *T of a karaoke stage in some bar. Ryan and Madison stood at the mic, singing a duet, some cheesy 80s power ballad. His arm was wrapped tightly around her waist. Her head rested on his shoulder like it belonged there. She looked happy. Unfiltered. Radiant in a way I hadn't seen in months. In the background, over the music, a voice from whoever was recording laughed and said, "They look like a real couple." Everyone in the room laughed. Except me. I felt like the floor shifted under my feet. A buzzing filled my ears and for a moment I forgot how to breathe. I looked at Madison, standing next to Ryan, still watching the video like it was no big deal. I walked over, trying to keep my voice even. "What was that?" I asked quietly, keeping my tone low so the others wouldn't hear. She turned to me, blinking as if I'd interrupted a dream. "What was what?" "That video," I said. "That was a lot." She raised an eyebrow. "Are you serious?" "It was karaoke. Everyone was paired up. And you just happened to get paired with him? The guy whose arm was basically glued to you." She scoffed. "Jake, don't do this. Don't be that guy. You're just jealous of a friendship. Ryan's my teammate. That's it. Just jealous of a friendship." She said it so casually, so dismissively, like it wasn't worth even a full conversation. Then she smiled and turned back to the group like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't just witnessed something an asterisk made. Something real. Something I wasn't a part of. I stood there stunned. My hands felt clammy. I excused myself to the hallway, pretending to take a work call. I just needed air. Needed space to process what I'd seen. I stared at the beige wall of that office hallway and asked myself the same question over and over. Was I overreacting? Or had I just seen something that changed everything? Because deep down I knew that wasn't just karaoke. That wasn't just work friends having fun. That was a window into a connection that I wasn't invited into. A part of Madison's life that didn't include me and maybe didn't want to. When we left the event an hour later, Madison was all smiles like nothing had happened. In the car, she chatted about client wins and inside jokes I didn't understand. I barely said a word. She didn't seem to notice. That night, lying in bed next to her, I couldn't sleep. Her back was to me, her breathing steady. I stared at the ceiling, playing the video over and over in my head. The way she leaned into him. The laughter. The look on her face. It wasn't just the video. It was how easily she dismissed it. How she made me feel like the bad guy for even noticing. And that's when it started. That's when everything changed. It wasn't an accusation. It wasn't a fight. It was just a moment. But it was one I couldn't unsee, couldn't forget. Something had shifted. And I couldn't ignore it anymore. After that night, everything started looking different. I wish I could say I confronted her right away, that I stood up for myself, demanded answers. But I didn't. Instead, I did what so many people do when their gut is screaming and their heart isn't ready to hear it. I gave her the benefit of the doubt. I told myself it was nothing. That I was just being insecure. That a video and a glance and one offhand comment didn't mean my wife was betraying me. But even as I told myself that, something in me broke. A switch flipped. I started noticing things I had brushed off before, things that had seemed harmless at the time. Now, they replayed in my head like a series of red flags I had ignored out of love. Or maybe out of fear. It started with her phone. She used to leave it lying around the house, on the kitchen counter, on the bathroom sink while she brushed her teeth, even face up on the nightstand. We used to laugh about how predictable she was. Her password was our wedding date. The irony still stings. Then one day, I tried to check the weather on it, something I'd done a dozen times before, and the password screen popped up. "Did you change your lock code?" I asked, more curious than accusatory. "Oh yeah," she said without looking up from her laptop. "IT made us update them. Company policy." "Okay," I replied. "What is it?" She hesitated. A full beat too long. "I'll text it to you," she said. She never did. Another time, she took a call in the garage. I was folding laundry when I heard the muffled sound of her voice, laughing softly. When I stepped out to grab something from the car, she immediately turned her back to me. "Hey," I said. She spun around. "Oh, just work stuff," she said, ending the call a little too quickly. "They're driving me crazy today." I nodded. But her eyes didn't meet mine. She walked past me with a forced smile and disappeared inside, leaving behind the faint scent of new perfume I didn't recognize. I stood there for a moment, holding a bundle of towels, feeling like a stranger in my own home. It wasn't just the phone, or the calls, or the perfume. It was everything, subtle, slow, almost unnoticeable if you weren't looking for it. But I was looking now. She started staying late at work more often. At first, it was once or twice a month. Then it was every week. Then twice a week. Always with a rehearsed reason. "We're onboarding a new partner," or "there's a last-minute call with San Diego." San Diego became the recurring excuse. Madison claimed they were working closely with a partner office there. But the more she said it, the more it started to sound like a placeholder for something she didn't want to name. I remember asking her once, "Why is it always San Diego? Don't you have clients in Seattle too?" She blinked, then smiled. "Seattle's handled by a different team now," she said. "You know that." I didn't. But I didn't push. One day, she came home with a shopping bag from a boutique downtown. Inside, 2 dresses. One was an emerald green wrap dress with a slit high up the thigh. The other was black, sleeveless, with a plunging neckline and a dramatic open back. "Wow," I said, holding one up. "Did I miss a special occasion?" She smirked. "No. Just felt like treating myself. A girl's gotta feel like a woman, not just some zombie on Zoom." I laughed, but it felt hollow. "Are these for work?" "They could be," she said. "Client dinners. Events. Whatever." She never wore them around me. Not once. Then came the flowers. Her birthday was in late March. I ordered a bouquet online, white tulips and blue orchids. They were her favorite. Had them scheduled for noon delivery to her office. But when she got home that night, there was already a massive bouquet sitting on the kitchen counter, red roses and baby's breath arranged in a glass vase with a gold ribbon. It was stunning. And definitely not from me. "Oh," she said, seeing my face. "You're early. I was gonna text you, these came at work. I assumed they were from you." I frowned. "They're not." She picked up the tag and turned it over. "Blank. No card," she said. "Maybe the admin ordered them from the team?" Later, when I asked again, she shrugged. "The admin's been out sick." I forgot to follow up. It should have been a bigger moment. I should have said more. But I didn't. Instead, I waited for the other shoe to drop. And it did. In pieces. That week, she went to San Diego again. Left Thursday morning, promised to be home Friday night. But then she texted around 6 p.m. Friday and said the meetings had run late, she'd be flying back Saturday. Something about delays, client escalations, and rescheduled briefings. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I checked her location, something we'd both enabled back when we first got iPhones, more for safety than anything else. She hadn't realized it was still on. She was in La Jolla. Not downtown. A boutique hotel called the Shoreline. Right by the beach. I looked it up. It had no conference rooms. No business suites. Just ocean view balconies and spa packages for couples. That night, I barely slept. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling fan spinning slowly overhead, the silence pressing down on me like a weight. I kept trying to imagine a version of the story where all of this still made sense. Where she was innocent. Where I was just being paranoid. But each excuse unraveled the moment I looked too closely. I thought about the way she said Ryan's name in passing. The way she tilted her head when she said just friends. The way her smile always seemed just a second too late these days. And the longer I sat with it, the clearer it became, this wasn't in my head. This was real. It was in the passwords she didn't share, the calls she took in the garage, the dresses she wore for someone else, the business trips that were never about business, and the flowers she couldn't explain. It was in the way she stopped kissing me goodnight. The way she laughed louder at her phone than she ever did at anything I said. The way she started wearing makeup to grab milk but didn't bother when we had dinner together. It was betrayal. Slow. Methodical. Almost elegant in how cleanly she sliced away from our life together without me noticing. But now I noticed. And the worst part? I still wasn't ready to act. Not yet. Because a part of me still wanted to be wrong. A part of me still loved her. And a part of me still needed more than a hunch. I needed something undeniable. And God help me, I knew it was coming. It was a Tuesday. Just a random, nothing special, middle-of-the-week Tuesday. That morning I woke up feeling, I don't know, off. Maybe it was the way the bed felt colder than usual, or how Madison didn't say goodbye when she left for work. Or maybe it was the fact that I hadn't heard her laugh in our house for weeks, not really. Whatever it was, something gnawed at me the second I opened my eyes. I tried to shake it off. I made coffee. Checked emails. Sat through a few mind-numbing Zoom calls with people I barely cared about and who barely cared about me. But even when I turned the camera off and stared at my reflection in the black screen, I couldn't focus. Something in my chest felt tight. Around 11:30, I messaged my manager and asked to take the rest of the day. No excuse. No fake dentist appointment. Just said I needed the afternoon. I think I knew I was about to find something. I didn't have a plan. I didn't even know where I was driving at first. I just got in the car and let my hands steer. Somewhere between the freeway and a stoplight on Broadway, I realized where I was going, Madison's office. She'd mentioned having a client call block that afternoon. Said she'd be tied up till at least 3. Don't call unless it's an emergency, she'd texted. I remember reading that and wondering when we'd stop being the kind of couple who called each other just to say hi. Madison worked in one of those glass and steel buildings near the foothills, the kind with smart elevators and a smoothie bar in the lobby. I dropped her off there a dozen times, kissed her goodbye in the parking lot, watched her disappear behind automatic doors like it was nothing. But this time I didn't pull up to the front. I parked on a side street where I could see the building's back entrance, the one she'd once told me only employees use when they're sneaking out for coffee runs. I waited. 10 minutes. 20. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for. Maybe just reassurance. Maybe a glimpse of her in a blazer and heels, holding a laptop bag, walking alone, focused, professional. Then I saw her. Coming out the side door. Not alone. Ryan was with her. And they were holding hands. Not in some joking, playful, we're just friends kind of way. Not like how coworkers might link arms after a long day. No. This was different. Their fingers were laced. Their hands locked like something magnetic held them together. I ducked lower in my seat instinctively. My pulse exploded in my ears. My first thought wasn't even rage, it was clarity. A sudden, absolute certainty that every doubt, every sick feeling in my gut, every flash of suspicion, I hadn't imagined any of it. She was betraying me. I pulled out my phone with trembling hands and opened the camera. I started recording. I didn't even think about it. I just knew I needed proof. For myself. Maybe for later. They walked toward the curb where a black SUV sat idling. An Uber. Ryan pulled her close while they waited. His arms wrapped around her from behind like they'd done it 100 times. She leaned into him. Her face tilted up toward his like it belonged there. She laughed. Not a polite chuckle. Not a forced smile. A real laugh. The kind I hadn't heard in months. I zoomed in. Captured every frame. Her smile. His grip. Their comfort. The whole thing played out like some twisted movie. Only I wasn't the lead. I wasn't even in the cast. I was the guy outside the theater, watching from behind glass, realizing the woman I loved was starring in a story that didn't include me. I kept recording until the Uber pulled away. I didn't follow. I didn't chase them. I didn't even cry. I just sat there, phone still in my hand, staring at the spot where they'd stood. I don't know how long I stayed like that. Long enough for the afternoon sun to shift and cast shadows across my dashboard. Long enough for the numbness to settle in. Eventually, I drove home. I walked through our front door like a ghost, barely remembering how I got there. The house was quiet. Still. Normal. The same throw blanket Madison liked was draped across the couch. Her sandals were by the door. A half-burned candle sat on the dining table, vanilla and cedar, her favorite. And there it was. A note. Written in her handwriting. That neat, loopy script she always used when she wanted something to feel warm. Hey babe, working late. Dinner with clients. Love you. I read it once. Then again. And then I laughed. Out loud. This dry, bitter sound that didn't feel like it belonged to me. It was like the universe had handed me the final piece. The note, the lie, the video, it all connected. It was undeniable. Not just suspicion anymore. Not fear. Not paranoia. Truth. I sat on the couch for a long time, holding that note in one hand and my phone in the other, the video playing on loop in my mind. No sound. Just images. Her smile. His arms. Their world. And me? I was the outsider. The inconvenience. The placeholder she'd kept warm until something more exciting came along. Eventually, I stood up. Walked into the kitchen. Poured myself a glass of water because I didn't trust myself with anything stronger. I didn't scream. Didn't throw anything. Didn't punch a wall like they do in the movies. I just breathed. Slow. Deep. Mechanical. Then I sat back down, opened the cloud app on my phone, and uploaded the video. I watched the progress bar fill. And I waited. Because the next move? It wasn't going to be a confrontation. It was going to be the beginning of something else. That night, I didn't say a word. Madison came home around 8:45. I heard the garage door open, her heels clicking across the tile. I was on the couch, lights low, TV on but muted. She walked in with a chipper voice, falsely bright, like she'd rehearsed it in the car. Hey, babe. Sorry, client dinner ran long. You wouldn't believe how late some of those guys talk. She kept going, tossing her purse onto the counter, grabbing a bottle of water from the fridge. I watched her from the corner of my eye, the way someone watches a magician. They know the trick now, so the illusion doesn't land anymore. I nodded. Smiled even. Long day? She gave me a quick glance. So long. You. Nothing special, I said. That was it. No argument. No confrontation. No big reveal. Just silence. And that silence? It spoke volumes. I think part of her expected something. Maybe she felt the tension in the room. Maybe some corner of her still thought I might know. But she didn't ask. And I didn't offer. The next day, I moved on instinct. While she got dressed for work, casual Friday, ripped jeans and a too-fitted blouse, she hummed in the bathroom mirror like nothing had changed. I stood in the hallway watching her reflection. She caught my eyes. You good? Yeah, I said. Just thinking. She smiled like it was nothing. And maybe to her it was. Maybe she'd convinced herself that secrecy made it harmless. That night, while she slept, I sat at the dining table and opened my laptop. I had the video queued up already, Ryan with his arms around her, their smiles, her head on his chest. I uploaded it to a secure drive, created a private folder with a simple title. For your memory. Then I composed an email. To madison.stern@retailnorthwest.com. Subject, in case you forget what just friendship looks like. No body text. Just the video attached. Not her personal account. Her work one. The one she was most obsessed with protecting. I knew she still monitored it on her phone even though her company had technically moved to a new internal suite. She used it as a backdoor, had once bragged about how she could still access legacy files there without anyone knowing. I clicked send. No going back. Then I started packing. I wasn't about to sleep in the same house another night pretending things were fine. I grabbed a duffel, shoved in 2 days' worth of clothes, my laptop, some chargers, a toothbrush. Left the wedding album. Left our photo wall untouched. At 2 a.m. I texted my friend Justin. Hey, you still have that guest room? He replied instantly, which surprised me. Always. Come over. When I got to his place, I didn't say much. Just thanks, man, and dropped the bag by the door. He didn't press. He just handed me a beer and nodded. The kind of quiet support that says more than any conversation. The next morning, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. 15 missed calls. 22 messages. All from Madison. I didn't open them. I didn't have to. The previews told me enough. Jacob, what the hell is this? Where are you? We need to talk. Please. You can't just disappear. I don't even know what you think you saw. One message stood out from the others. No exclamation points. No panic. Just 6 words. Can we please fix this privately? Privately. Like this was just a hiccup in a long marriage. Like what I had seen was a PR issue, not a betrayal. I didn't answer. 2 days passed. I didn't go home. Didn't return any calls. Didn't so much as drive by the house. I changed the passwords on our joint accounts. Redirected my paycheck to my personal bank. I wasn't sure if we were heading for divorce yet, but I knew I needed space. And control. And the ability to think without her voice in my ear. Justin let me crash without questions. He gave me space, but every once in a while he'd leave a plate of food outside the door or knock softly and say, "You're not alone, man." I didn't say it then, but that mattered more than I can explain. By Monday morning, the silence was still intact. Not a word from me. And that silence? It drove Madison crazy. She messaged Justin. Messaged my mom. Tried every back channel she could think of. Then something happened I didn't expect. Justin came into the guest room, phone in hand. "Dude," he said, eyes wide. "You might want to see this." He showed me a screenshot *T from Slack, Madison's company's internal messaging system. Effective immediately, Ryan H. is no longer employed with Retail Northwest due to a violation of company policy. Below it, Madison S. is currently on administrative leave pending internal review. I blinked. "What?" I asked. He handed me the phone. "Check your video file. You uploaded that to her work email, right? The one that's still tied to her internal account." I nodded slowly. "Someone must have shared it internally," he said. "It's all over their team chat." I didn't know whether to laugh or feel sick. I never intended to go public. I never clicked share with everyone. But apparently someone inside had opened it, maybe thinking it was work-related, and then passed it along. Maybe by accident. Maybe not. Either way, it spread. The fallout happened fast. I didn't hear from Madison again for almost a week. Then came the letter. Real paper. Handwritten. No stamps, she must have dropped it off in person. I opened it and recognized the shaky loops of her handwriting immediately. "Jacob, I don't even know where to begin. I guess I deserve the silence. I guess I deserve worse. But I need to explain, if only for myself. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. It started small. It felt harmless. But then it grew. Ryan filled a space I didn't even know I was leaving empty. I don't expect that to make sense to you. I don't expect forgiveness. He ghosted me, by the way. After everything fell apart. He cut me off. I've been fired. I'm not even sure I'll get a reference. My parents found out. They're devastated. My mom can't look me in the eye. You didn't just leave, you exposed me. You could have walked away quietly. But you made it public. You ruined my life." That last line hit me like a punch. I had to read it twice. I ruined her life? I folded the letter and slid it into the back of my notebook drawer. No reply. No message. No second chances. Because the truth was, I hadn't ruined anything. I just revealed it. Madison made her choices. She nurtured a secret, fed it, protected it from daylight, and I simply turned on the light. Silence was never surrender. It was clarity. It was power. And in that moment, for the first time in months, I finally felt like myself again. By the time Madison's letter arrived, I had already made peace with the silence. Or at least I thought I had. There was something comforting in the stillness. Something clean about not speaking, not arguing, not rehashing what had already broken. But the moment I unfolded that page, with her handwriting trembling across the lines, that calm started to unravel. She blamed me. "You ruined my life." The words looped in my head like static, over and over, as if I had created the mess, as if I had built the lie, kissed someone else, whispered things in secret while pretending to love her in the light of day. No, I didn't ruin anything. I exposed what was already rotting. Still, something about her saying it, putting it on paper, stuck with me. It had this warped, backwards power, like she was trying to flip the script, turn the story into one where I'd gone nuclear. where I hadn't just walked away but scorched the earth behind me. I didn't tell anyone about the letter. I kept it folded in the back of my notebook drawer, between an old birthday card from my mom and a sketch I once made of our backyard plans. Plans that would never be built now. I stayed with Justin for a while longer. He kept giving me space, which I appreciated more than I could say. Some nights we'd sit out on his back patio with beers and silence, letting the air fill with the things we didn't need to put into words. Then, 1 week after Madison's letter, everything went from private collapse to public firestorm. I was sitting at Justin's kitchen counter, half reading the news on my phone, half considering what to do next. My lease was up in a few months. The house was still in both our names. I hadn't even decided where I'd live yet, let alone how to divide the furniture, or if I'd even try to keep the dog, if we still had the dog. That's when I got the text. It was from Tyler, one of Madison's coworkers, the only one I had ever really liked. We'd bonded once over a shared hatred of charcuterie boards at office parties. It had been months since we last spoke. Tyler, Jake, man, did you see Slack? I frowned. I hadn't. I didn't even have access. But I still had the login Madison gave me back when she was onboarding her new work laptop. She'd needed help with some security settings and told me, just get in and set it up. It's fine. I opened my laptop, logged in, and there it was. Her company's internal Slack thread. Not just one post, not just one chat, but an entire chain of messages reacting to the video. Did you guys see the Madison thing? That's insane. I thought she and Ryan were just close. No way, that's just karaoke. HR's involved. He's fired. She's on leave. My stomach dropped. I scrolled up, trying to find the original message. It had been shared under a private thread by someone named Colin, one of their account managers. He must have opened the email from me. Probably thought it was an internal file or something and clicked forward. Maybe to his team. Maybe to the wrong group chat. I'll never know. All I know is that the video was out. The same clip I recorded that Tuesday. Madison and Ryan, holding hands, laughing, hugging like the world around them didn't exist. Someone had screen capped the keyframe and dropped it into the chat with the words, "Friendship, huh?" I stared at the screen, unmoving. I didn't want this. I really didn't. I didn't want it to be public. I didn't want Madison to be humiliated, not because I still loved her, but because I didn't want to be that guy, the one who turns betrayal into a spectacle. But there it was, out in the wild. Another message pinged in Slack. Due to a violation of the company's code of conduct, Ryan H. is no longer employed at Retail Northwest. Madison S. has been placed on temporary administrative leave pending investigation. I closed the laptop. There was nothing left to say, nothing left to do. The fairy tale had collapsed, and everyone was watching. Over the next few days, the fallout spilled further. Tyler messaged me again. Just so you know, HR is doing interviews. People are whispering all over the place. Apparently Ryan had a rep. This isn't the first time. Another text, this one from a number I didn't recognize. You don't know me, but thank you. What you did, it forced a lot of us to speak up. Madison and Ryan made work miserable for people like me. I stared at that one the longest. It was easy to see the story as mine alone. My heartbreak, my loss. But that message reminded me, sometimes the damage spreads wider than we realize. Sometimes there are others standing in the wreckage, too. Still, guilt crept in. It wasn't logical, but it was there. Was I wrong to send the video? Was I wrong to press record in the first place? Every time I asked myself that, I remembered the way her head rested on his chest. The way she had smiled at him like I hadn't seen in months. The way she'd come home that same night, looked me in the eye, and lied with practiced ease. No, I wasn't wrong. I was just done pretending. A few days later, Madison emailed me. Not from her work account, her personal one this time. The subject line just read, "Can we please talk?" I didn't open it. She followed it with a voicemail, short, hesitant, trembling. "Jacob, I didn't know the video got shared. I don't know who sent it around. HR won't tell me anything. They won't even return my calls now. Everything's spiraling. I know you're angry. I just..." I don't know how to fix this. Please. I listened to the message twice. The first time I felt anger. The second time I felt nothing. Just a hollow space where something used to be. Maybe it was love. Maybe it was the version of her I used to believe in. Either way, it was gone. I didn't respond. Not because I wanted to punish her, but because I didn't owe her that anymore. She had chosen someone else. She had built a secret world and lived in it while mine slowly crumbled. She had walked through her home like everything was fine while her loyalty slept in someone else's arms. Now the world knew. And the fairy tale she worked so hard to maintain, glossy, smiling, put-together Madison, was unraveling at the seams. It wasn't my story anymore. It never really was. And as I looked at my phone, watched her message fade into the archive folder, I realized something. Her collapse wasn't my revenge. It was just the truth finally doing what it always does. Rising to the surface. No shouting. No slamming doors. Just gravity.